Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have a very interesting topic to discuss with you, and it might take a while, so please forgive the length. I was given to watch a Fox and Friends video clip just from yesterday, very fresh off the presses. Fox News had a segment about Wiccan and pagan holidays being recognized at the University of Missouri. Apparently Fox didn't like that, big surprise. But I watched the video and basically another companion video from a similar or the same segment. It was just two separate videos. So in the 6 minutes of video, I was able to pick out 24 points to argue against and to correct and to discuss. Yes, I said 24 in 6 minutes of video. Now, the topic was, like I said, pagan and Wiccan holidays being recognized at the University of Missouri. And like I said, again, Fox News thought it was a bad thing, and they went off talking about paganism, Wicca, Wiccans, the people themselves, the practices, the holidays, as if they knew what they were talking about. And I had to shut one of the videos off a minute in, because I couldn't watch it. So, if you don't know who I am, my alias is Paige Montague. I'm a 25-year-old Celtic, Druid, pagan with some Norse reconstruction thrown in there, and I also practice witchcraft. I've been doing all of this for approximately 10 or so years. I was raised agnostic, did a brief stint as a Christian, and at college I study world religions as part of my career path. I think that puts me a little bit ahead of some of these Fox News journalists. So here we go. 12 seconds in the first video, there was two men and a woman. Geniuses, all of them. The first quote that I pulled was, "I don't know if they, pagans, make up a large percentage of the population." Actually, I think he meant Wiccans. The next guy says he did know, and that they don't make up a large percentage of the population. True, they don't make up a huge percentage of the population, but you could have quit while you were ahead, because you went on to say there are more Zoroastrians than Wiccans. No, sir, there are not. Zoroastrians are about 200,000 strong, and that's just an estimation. Now, Wiccans, as you are specifically talking about Wiccans, even though you shouldn't be, you were talking about Wiccans, there are approximately 1 to 3 million Wiccans. And I say approximately 1 to 3 million, it's because they stay in the closet a lot of the time, but we'll get to that later. So, 1 to 3 million Wiccans. And of course, as you don't know, and you will soon find out, that Wicca and paganism are not the same thing. So, Wiccans are not the only pagans. You're leaving out Odinists, Asatruers, traditional or old world witches, druids, and other pagan revivalists or other Celtic pagan revivalists, shamans of several varieties, Kemetic, which is Egyptian, revival, Hellenists or Greek revival, also Roman revival I suppose, and African diaspora, pagans. All of everything I just mentioned, I know at least one person practicing each one of the things I just mentioned, so I know they exist! Oh, and of course there are others, because if you want to include Native American practices in there, it depends on the person whether that would be pagan or not. So, false, Zoroastrians there are not more Zoroastrians than Wiccans, and even though there are more Wiccans than Zoroastrians, we were not going to worry about Zoroastrians right now, because the point being that there are millions and millions of pagans in this country, and we don't know how many there are, because there are so many pagan paths that are not accounted for, and so many pagans that are not coming out of the closet. Like I said, we'll get to that part later. Number 2, just a few seconds after this one, quote, are there exorbitant amounts of Wiccans at this university. They don't have to be. Many colleges have pagan student groups. That's just a fact. UMass Amherst does. I'm pretty sure UMass Boston does. My school, UMass Dartmouth, does. I am the founder of it. I know it's there. I'm there every Wednesday. I have been for the past 5 years. So, colleges with pagan groups if I had to guess, probably obviously know that these pagan groups exist, and that being the case, I was able to get one of my holidays off. You know, these Fox guys are talking about the University of Missouri is recognizing pagan holidays in college pamphlets and da-da-da, chaos, anarchy. I got Beltane off a couple of years ago. I went to my professor. I said I can't sing in this little miniature concert because it falls on one of my holidays. I'm sorry. Ooh. I didn't have to go sing in the concert. Got to be home for my holy day. He didn't care. The thing is, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, Fox News, when you're talking about this, and you're doing it in a really, really ignorant, silly way. Moving on that same note, since Islam is a much bigger religion than Wicca even is, Muslim students come to class, or I think they do. I know Muslims who have. They go to class late if the class time coincides with prayer time. They'll come into class every day, but they come in 5 minutes late. That's just what they do, and as long as professor knows, or as long as it's understood that happens, why is it a big deal that I got my holiday off, or that Muslim student comes to class 5 minutes late because it coincides with prayer time? These are things that aren't a big deal. The fact that we're allowed to do them, thankfully, very, very thankfully, we have these freedoms, shows just how awesome this country can be at times. Okay? Number 3. Quote, "The bad side of Wicca is that it's a form of witchcraft." Okay, double dare Fox News reporters. What is witchcraft? You probably don't know what it is, and I'll give you a hint, you can't find it in your Bible. The witchcraft people practice today is not in your Bible. I promise you that. Tell me what witchcraft is. I'll wait. Moving on. Wiccan and pagan. They keep saying Wiccan and pagan, as if they were the same thing. I don't know. Okay, so you keep saying Wiccan and pagan. Wicca is part of paganism. It's like saying Baptist and Christian. The University of Missouri is recognizing Baptist and Christian holidays, and you're like, what? Aren't they different, or aren't they one part of the other? Yes, Wicca is part of paganism. It's not separate, but they're not the same thing either. So there's only some differences depending on the pagan religion. Wicca is the biggest of the pagan religions, but it is not all of paganism. And they are not two separate things entirely. So, if you're not Wiccan, but you are a pagan, you may be a witch or a druid, or even one of the Norse or Germanic practices, or even the Egyptian practices. The holidays are going to be different. Many of them will be along the same lines, just with different names, but some are different. So, I'm pretty sure that the University of Missouri is, actually I know for a fact because I read the thing on Fox, is they're just talking about the big 8, the big Wiccan, Celtic, Germanic holidays. So that there, to me, it's not like they're going off the deep end and talking about every tiny little holiday that a pagan might celebrate. Like Horus's birthday, we have to have Horus's birthday. That's not even a thing. But that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, they're not going over the deep end. They're just trying to acknowledge the big 8, as I would call them. So, next quote, which you will segment into the other video, which I'll post for you. It says, "Good luck being pagan in any other country," basically, was the quote. Hello! Most of Europe is very accepting of paganism. That's where it came from, mostly. Solstice. The summer solstice is a legal holiday in Sweden. I know this because I have a friend who lives in Sweden. She told me. Druidism is now a recognized religion in the United Kingdom. That's where Druidism came from, by the way. And because Europe is less religious, meaning like people aren't as Bible believing and as Christian, and they basically aren't as religious in that sense that we are, it is probably safer and easier to be pagan over there than it is here. So, good luck being pagan in any other country. That's just BS propaganda. You're trying to get your viewers to believe this bullshit that's not true. So, moving on. Point 6, quote, if you're Christian in this country, you can't say Merry Christmas, that whole crap. You can, and you do, all the time. Us saying, hey, just say Happy Holidays, doesn't work, because you still say Merry Christmas, which isn't really a big deal, and you're making it into a big deal again by saying this. So, it's not politically correct that people prefer to say Happy Holidays. It's not. I don't like being politically correct. But I think saying Happy Holidays, it's polite, it is the ethical thing to do, and it gives acknowledgement where it's due, because there are so many winter holidays. If there were no other winter holidays, it was just Christmas, and we didn't have Yule, and I didn't celebrate, obviously, Christmas or any other holiday in December, if somebody told me Merry Christmas, who cares? If it's the only holiday, I'd be like, oh yeah, Merry Christmas, have fun, what's Christmas? You know, not that I would say that part, but you get the idea. But the fact that there are several winter light festival, sun festival holidays that fall around the same 2-week span. No, Hanukkah changes. But Yule, Christmas, there's Hanukkah, there's Diwali, which is Hindu. They all fall around the same time. Saying Happy Holidays is honestly the cool, like, it's cool. You're not being politically correct, you're just being correct. It's alright, I promise. Point 7. Quote, you get 20 holidays if you're Wiccan, and that's the one to go with. Go with the one with the most holidays. 20 holidays. You might be referring to the full moons and the new moons, but those really aren't holidays, are they? So, there are 8 holidays, not 20. And they are not authentically Wiccan. So let's just tack this right now. The 8 holidays that you're referring to, or you trying to refer to, aren't Wiccan made. They were made popular. I think they were really brought to the forefront of the New Age blooming pagan culture, thanks to Gerald Gardner. I believe, this is my opinion. But the holidays themselves are not Wiccan. Gerald Gardner did not create them. They were already there, he just brought them back with a vengeance. So, no, we have 8, plus the full moons and new moons, which aren't holidays. They're full moons and new moons. Christianity and Judaism have more holidays. I think they each have 9. I looked on my calendar, I counted. I'm not including the Eastern Orthodox holidays in my Christianity count, but there are 9 of each, Judaism and Christianity. Some are less well known. Some of them I don't even know what they're about. Some I do. So we have basically the same amount of holidays. It's the Christians and the Jews. Why are you freaking out, Fox News? Point 8. Quote, any religion whose most sacred holiday or sacred day is Halloween, I just can't take seriously. False! It's not Halloween. Halloween is the secular holiday, and Samhain, predates modern secular Halloween by a few thousand years. Samhain is the reason that we have Halloween, yes, but they are not the same thing. Pagans will probably send their kids out trick-or-treating with the rest of the kids, but they're not celebrating Halloween because it's separate from Samhain. Go trick-or-treating for Halloween, come home and celebrate Samhain. So Samhain is the day to honor the ancestors. It's not collecting candy, and it's not about skeletons and ghouls and goblins and scary things. That's Halloween. It came from Samhain. It got bastardized and twisted about. So Samhain is very sacred. Yes, it is our most sacred holiday, but it's not what you think it is. Ancestor honoring, preparing. See, the thing is that the pagan holidays, they have different mythologies than the Christian holidays. Pagan holidays are very, very steeped in agricultural traditions, family traditions, things like that. So when we say we're honoring the ancestors, we're preparing for the winter ahead, it's very dark time of year as far as nature goes. You're like, what? No, seriously, just leave it. It's Samhain, it's not Halloween. Point 9. How many Wiccans can name every Wiccan holiday? I don't know. How many Christians can name every Christian holiday, including the obscure ones? Because I know that even though we have 8 holidays, some of them are less well known, like Imbolc. Imbolc is just one of those holidays that sometimes you'll just forget. Not saying that's just what happens, but the thing is, how many Wiccans can name every Wiccan holiday? Most of them. And of course they're not just Wiccans, because you, Fox News, you mean to say pagans, but because you don't actually know what you're talking about, you just keep using Wiccans and pagans interchangeably. So how many pagans can name every one of the holidays? Most of them. Most of them. Most people, pagans, who have been practicing for more than a few years, who are pretty solidly on their path, can name all the holidays. And more than just naming the names of the holidays, most, if not all, of the pagans I know who have been practicing for more than a couple of years know all the histories behind the holidays. They know why they do what they do. They know why they put up a Yule tree. They know why they hang mistletoe, holly, and ivy. They know why they're carving pumpkins. They know why they're decorating eggs. Do you? Point 10. I don't know a single Wiccan. I don't know a single Wiccan. You don't know that. You probably do. If you go to Starbucks every morning or Dunkin' Donuts to get your coffee, the person who made it might be a Wiccan. I was that person when I was 19 making your coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. You never know. If you go to the bookstores or the malls, your retail clerk or just your salesperson on the floor, they could be Wiccan, they could be pagan, they could be a heathen. If they were wearing one of these, they play for my team. Again, you don't know that. You could know a couple pagans or Wiccans just from your everyday excursions. You've probably met one this week. Whether you know them personally in your family, no, you may not. Then again, if you were in my family, I'd probably keep pretty quiet too. So you don't know that. Many pagans, I think especially Wiccans, honestly, stay in the closet. For a reason. And it has a lot to do with fear and persecution from Fox News viewers. 11. I love that he just used this. It's like, I'm a journalist, and then act like it. You sound like satirical. I'm listening to you talk, and I'm like, this guy can't be serious. But you are being serious. That's not journalism, that's bullshit. Go work for a tabloid. Okay, I know Fox News has a reputation on my team to be like a lie factory, and I try to stay neutral, but after this, I'm sold. You're a lie factory. Okay? You're a journalist, your job, this goes for CNN, MSNBC, all of you. Your job is to report the news unbiased, from an unbiased perspective, report the truth. Even if you don't agree with it, it's your job. You're a journalist. I'm a writer. I studied journalism in school. Tell the truth. Oh, and if you don't know the truth, just say it. All of this, these are things that you don't know that I'm correcting you on right now. Fox News. 12. Every Wiccan I've ever known played Dungeons and Dragons, or is a middle-aged, twice-divorced woman living in a rural area who's practicing midwife and probably likes incense. I don't know any pagans who play Dungeons and Dragons, and I know many, many pagans. And the whole middle-aged woman, divorced, rural woman who's a midwife and likes incense, that doesn't sound like any pagan I've ever met or know of. That sounds like a middle-aged, twice-divorced woman living in a rural area who's a midwife and likes incense. That's what that sounds like to me. They're Buddhists burn incense. Catholics burn incense. Holy generalities, Batman. 13. And this is their ending. They're ending it, and they're like, to the viewers, if you met any Wiccans out there, let us know. I'm sorry. Have we had pagan sightings that I didn't know about? Should be watching out my window for my husband to walk by. There's one right there! Hey, Fox News, I found one! I'm sorry. Was that in bad taste? Like, pagans are Bigfoot now, or like the cool thing to talk about this week, like, yeah, I knew a Wiccan, she wore all this jewelry, and she had long hair, and wore blue paint in her face, and wore skirts, and talked about the goddess. Okay. 'Cause you're cool. Number 14, this is going into the second video. They reference the PC police. Is it time to contact the PC police? Blah! Okay. Is it really politically correct? Is it really politically correct to put the pagan holidays equal with Christian holidays? Or is it just the right thing to do? Is it just the ethical thing to do? In the 21st century, we have this great cultural awakening where we're starting to open up our collective eyes going, wow, there's more going on here than what's going on in my little world. There's more in the universe than can be thought of in my imagination. There's more going on. Okay? So I think it's a step in the right direction. Putting minority holidays, minority religions on par, equal with big ones. It's saying, even though there's a lot less of you than there are of us, you're still legit. You're still a real thing, and you still have those rights. And we're going to acknowledge that. That's what that is. Nothing more. Moving on. 15. This whole thing with the University of Missouri, it puts Wiccan holidays on par with Christmas and Hanukkah. Yes. Yes, it does. As well it should. Our holidays are just as important to us, and they should be recognized. Okay? By universities, or by the university in question, as there is no doubt that there are pagans there. There's pagans everywhere. Honestly, everywhere. Even if there were 20 pagans on campus, there probably are more, even if there are 20 pagans on that campus, it says to those 20 pagans that I can say, I have a holiday on this day, may I please move the exam? I have a holiday on this day, may I please be excused from this field trip? May I please be excused from singing in the concert? May I please be excused from class? I don't see a big deal. I'm sorry that Fox News apparently does. 16. Quote, we should go for being Wiccan because we'd get more days off. I know you're trying to make a joke. Don't. I don't know why you're trying to make this into a joke. It's really kind of pathetic that that's what Wicca is to you. 18. 18, quote, if you're a Wiccan or pagan, you're anti-establishment. Holy crap, bold-face generality. I don't actually know any pagan who's anti-establishment. I know a couple who are starting to challenge some of the authority here, but we're not talking total anarchy. We're not talking complete French Revolution-esque thinking here. We're simply talking about questioning the rights we have and challenging the authority above us, saying we're here too, we have rights as women, as minority religions, as minority races, we have rights. Acknowledge them, or we're going to do something about it. That's the only anti-establishment I'm familiar with, and I'm the most anti-establishment person that I know. And I wouldn't even go this far as to say that that's how I feel, anti-establishment. You're thinking of the hippies, I'm sorry, 1969 is over, Woodstock is a memory now. Get your shit straight. 19. Who can name 8 Wiccan holidays? I doubt the average Wiccan could. We're back to this. This is the second video, so it's separate. Who can name 8 Wiccan holidays? I'm sorry, who can name 8 Christian holidays? We're back to this. The way I like to explain it is apply it to your own religion, and that pretty much answers your question. Can a Christian name 8 Christian holidays? Probably, yeah. Just apply that same logic to Wiccans, or Muslims, or Zoroastrians. You know, just think. Use your brain. You have a brain. Use it. Yes, we can name all of our holidays. And the thing that I noticed with this is because they've reiterated it. They keep bringing it up. They keep saying it. It's like, again, with the propaganda thing, they're trying to get the viewers to believe it. If they keep reiterating it, it gets ingrained into their viewers. It becomes truth. Just because you can't name the 8 holidays, just because you've never heard of them, doesn't mean they're not real. Doesn't mean they're not legit. 20. Back to this again. Quote, Halloween is the new year, so now you can have Halloween off. Referring to if you can have the pagan holidays off. If they are recognized holidays. So no, Halloween is not the new year. You're thinking of the secular calendar. Samhain is the new year, and it's the Celtic new year. Because the Celts had a different calendar. Theirs started in November 1st. This is not a huge deal. 21. Quote, if you're a pagan, then every day's a holiday because you're celebrating nature. I'm not really quite sure how that makes any sense, but I'll try. She's saying that, well, if you're a pagan and you're celebrating nature, then every day is a holiday because you celebrate nature. What's that quote about cherishing every day that God gave you? Every day. Wouldn't that make every day a holiday if you're a Christian because God gave you this day? Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Again, if it applies to your religion, it probably can apply to mine, or apply to any of these pagan religions. 22. Quote, only a country that's been too rich for this long can be this frivolous. Frivolous, he means going this far to acknowledge these minority pagan holidays. Frivolous. Recognizing holidays isn't frivolous. The frivolity in this case is trying to ignore them because you think they're silly, because you have an air of self-entitlement, because you think you're right. Trying to brush off the millions of pagans, that's frivolous. Not acknowledging our equality and our legitimacy, that's frivolous. 23. They, the University of Missouri, hates Orthodox Christianity. This is what it comes down to. Direct quote. They hate Orthodox Christianity. This is what it comes down to. Again, with the propaganda, Fox News. I know that's what you're all about. But propaganda is not news. Because the University of Missouri intends to acknowledge these pagan holidays, that has nothing to do with Christianity at all. Okay? Saying I love ice cream doesn't mean I hate pie. That's a little silly, but that's how silly this is. Saying... I'm not even going to go any further. Pagans, we're not here to hate you. We don't exist as pagans. We don't decide to wake up in the morning and be pagan and put on our jewelry while you put on your cross, and put on our skirts while you put on your 3-piece business suit or whatever to go to church. I don't even know what you wear to church. We're not here to hate you. We're not here to counteract everything you do. And we don't celebrate our holidays because we hate you or to piss you off. Our holidays are for us. We don't care what you do. We don't hate you. We hate what you're saying right now, but we don't hate you. What was it, that quote? Hate the sin, love the sinner? We have no problem with you. We don't hate you. But you're driving us crazy with this stuff. 24. Last one. Quote, pagans and Wiccans are being used to downgrade what's important to the majority of Americans, etc., etc., and this is an anti-tradition action, ... Pagans should be mad that they're being used. Pagans and Wiccans are being downgraded, or being used to downgrade what's important to the majority of Americans. So, the majority of Americans would be appalled presumably that our holidays, which have nothing to do with them, have no effect on them, just like gay marriage or marriage equality has no effect on anybody else but the people who want to get married. This is what we're talking about. I mean, I'm kind of happy that the University of Missouri is doing this. Whether it's doing it the right way, that remains to be seen, but the fact that they're doing something, they're giving us some sort of acknowledgement, the fact that I was able to get Beltane off, and the fact that my Muslim classmates can go to prayer and then come to class, I mean, that to me is a step in the right direction. And I feel like the only people that are using us for their own gain is Fox News. And people like Pat Robertson. And other people like that. Those are the only people that I can see right currently that are using us. They hate us, obviously. Or maybe they don't hate us, but they don't understand what they're talking about. They're using all of this as propaganda to get people on their side, to get people to believe what they're saying. Fox News, you're making more work for me. Okay? I have a hard time enough getting people to just understand that we don't hate Christians, and then you start doing stuff like this. You're making my life crazy, Fox News. Work is never done for me, but you know what? At least I like this job. Oh, also, like I said, religion is my job. Okay? All religions. I try to make myself available to everybody. My goal is interfaith ministry or counseling. Obviously, if you know me in person, you've watched my videos, you've read my blog, you know what I'm all about. So, dear Fox News, please test me.